In this video, I'm going to talk about English terms having to do with time, but it's important to note that there isn't a central authority for English, and also it's important to note that English is still being worked on, and it's going to be worked on for a long time, so plenty of the stuff in this video could become kind of obsolete later if better words show up or something like that. So the seasons are called yeartides, and there are four of them, like normal. There's Lent, summer, harvest, and winter, although you could call Lent and harvest by their more modern names. That would be just fine, because English isn't necessarily about trying to be medieval, although a lot of people who like English happen to like medieval stuff, and that's part of the attraction. Yeah, but it's not mandatory to be as medieval as possible. It's just it's just trying to be as English as possible, and sometimes that means being medieval, and sometimes it doesn't. So, anyways, so each of the yeartides has 3 months. So I'm beginning here with March, and then this would be April, and so on. Okay, so there's wreath month, Easter month, Thrimilk, Airlithe, Afterlithe, Weed month, Holla month, Winterfolth, Bloot month, Aerial, After Yule, and Soul month. But in quick speech, it might be something like Rethmonth, Eastermonth, or Esmonth, Thrimilk, Erlith, Afterlith, Weedmonth, Hollamonth, Winterfolth, Blut month, even Uriel, After Yule, Soul month, something like that. Some things I should point out is that this word here is not blood. I've seen people. I should probably mention that these names come from Old English. We didn't just make these up. These are updatings, attempts to update Old English names. But yeah, this word here is not blood. It's blute, and it has to do with sacrifices. And I don't think the word is even related to the word blood, even though it looks like it is. And you might think it is because it has to do with blood sacrifices. I should probably try to explain these names too. Okay, so this one I don't really understand. This one's Easter month, I guess because it has Easter in it. This one is supposedly Thrimilk because you can milk cows 3 times in this month. This is before Lithe. This is after Lithe. Just like this one is before Yule, and this one's after Yule. And Yule is basically Christmas. Weed month because of the weeds, I guess. Holy month or Holla month because of sacrifices, I think. And then this one's also for sacrifices. But this one makes more sense because it is before winter shows up. And so you would sacrifice the animals you don't think will make it through the winter. Now this one is called Winterfolth, and that might be confusing because it's not in winter. But that is because apparently the Anglo-Saxons didn't really think in terms of 4 seasons like this. They kind of thought more in terms of 2 with summer and winter, and then I suppose Lent was kind of just a subcategory of summer, and then I guess harvest was more like a subcategory of winter. So I think to the Anglo-Saxons, October was in winter, so to them it made sense. Now the days we have now are probably about as English as you can get, but sometimes people try to Englishize them even more or propose alternatives. So that's what this is about. So Saturday in particular draws the attention of Englishers because it has Saturn in it. That is a Roman god. So you might prefer rest day, but even though this word is more English in speech, it has Hebrew influence in culture. So some people might be for it and some people might be against it depending on like what approach they're trying to take with English. If you're purely coming at it from like speech and language, then this word would be just fine because you might not care in the least bit that it is referencing a Hebrew cultural thingy. But otherwise, you might go with Sun Eve. But this is kind of iffy because even though Saturday kind of was called Sun Eve, it was more like the evening of Saturday and not really the whole day, but the term evening or eve rather, The term Eve in modern English has expanded to refer to the entire day. So Christmas Eve refers to the entire day before Christmas, even though in the past it used to just mean the evening before Christmas. So Sun Eve, by that extension, does make sense as a word for Saturday, but a problem with that is it doesn't have the word day in it, so it would stick out among all the days, and that would be kind of weird. Now some of these are not necessary at all, like Moon Day. Like that's not any more English than Monday is, but it's kind of fun, and English is kind of about fun depending on your stance. So I included it. There's Ties Day. This is attested in Middle English, and it makes sense because it's like twos here. This is keeping around a weird inflected version of the god's name, who Tuesday is named after. In Old English, it was something like T, and so it makes sense for his name to be not only Ty in English, but also for his day to be called Ties Day. But that's just that's trying to force standardization into it, and English isn't necessarily about standardization, so this is just optional. And yeah, there's the same thing's going on here with Woodnesday. That's just optional standardization. Thunder Day, this is based on the idea that Thursday might have Norse influence in it, and so if you're not a particularly big fan of the Norse, or maybe you, well, see, some Englishers are like really, really like English, like it's all about English, 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 and so if there's something Norse which is getting in the way of something English, then they want to get rid of it. And so in the case of Thursday, which might have influence from the word Thursday, in this case, you might want to go with Thunder Day because this is an attested form from Middle English. And it's obviously, well, it's undoubtedly named after the god Thunor, as opposed to Thursday, which might be named after Thor, even though they're basically the same god, but yada, 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 yada. Anyways, so every day is broken down into subparts, and you're going to be familiar, of course, with morning, evening, and all that, but noon is called midday, and that is something that's something in normal English, but in English, it's always midday, because noon is a loan word, and so afternoon would, I suppose, be after midday. So here's a bunch of Misc stuff. So for the word second, I've come up with brightum while, and you could shorten this to brightum. This is from Old English, and they used the word, not this particular version of this word, because this is an updated version of the word, but they used some Old English word to mean an instant or a moment, and so it's not a big stretch of the imagination to take that word and use it to refer to a second. Now, stound in Middle English was a broad word, and it kind of just meant like a while. It could just refer to any, while amount of time. It was broad and it was vague, but it occasionally was used more or less to mean an hour. And so I'm using it for an hour. In fact, a lot of Englishers, if you look around, you'll see them using stound to mean hour. And so I made up stoundling to refer to a minute because I couldn't think of anything else. And if you don't like that, you might just want to say minute, because some people are okay with loan words if they're also widely embraced by other Germanic languages. So that's a case where you might be in favor of the word minute. A lot of these you're going to be familiar with because all of these are just normal. Fortnight refers to 2 weeks. It's a word that's not used very much unless, I'm not gonna talk about that. Now yearhundred is attested, I think, in Old English, but year 10 isn't. So year 10 is not only based on yearhundred by analogy with it, but it's also taken from Dutch, because I think Dutch has a word which is the equivalent of year 10, and so English is building off of that. These are from Old English and probably to some extent Middle English. These are adjectives meaning future, present, and past, but I think for the sake of English, we could expand them to be nouns. So this could mean the future, the present, and the past. These words, You should be somewhat familiar with them. Hitherto means up until now. Thitherto means up until then. Hence means from now, and thence means from then. But hence and thence can also mean other things. They can refer to location rather than time. Eld means basically period or age. Fac, I'm not super sure on this word. This is the type of word where later on I might just like erase it from my English word book because I haven't really heavily settled that this word is like legitimate, but it seems to be a word which means interval. Tailmark comes from Old English. It means date. Tide is kind of a generic term for a period of time. Your is, like the past, the long past. So in your days of the Romans and yada yada. Ere yesterday means the day before yesterday, and over morrow means the day after tomorrow. Here's something I just learned. Well, I already knew that dawn is when the sun is coming up and dusk is when it's going down. But I didn't know that twilight refers to the moment when the sun is no longer visible or when it's about to be visible. I thought twilight was just like a generic term for it's kind of dark. But no, apparently it's like at dusk when the sun goes over the horizon and it's still kind of bright out because there's still light flying around. That is twilight. And at the same time, when the sun is about to come up over the horizon, that is also twilight. I'm probably forgetting a lot of time terminology I could have put into this video, but that's okay. So yeah, that's it.